right, good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Scholl. I am the lead learner at the Center for Educator Wellness and Learning, a new center that was started by the South Carolina Education Association. And tonight I have the honor and pleasure of bringing to you the top 5 honor roll teachers for South Carolina Teacher of the Year. And on behalf of everybody at the SCEA, I want to congratulate you. I mean, I think we have over 50,000 educators in the state of South Carolina, and there's 5, we're down to 5. So you are I think it was 0.01%, the top 0.01%. So congratulations to you for that honor. We have tonight with us, we have Jamie Gooker. And Jamie is from Spartanburg 4. We have Zachary Arms from Pickens County, Dion Jamison, who's from the South Carolina Public Charter School District, Laura Merck, who's from York 4, which I think is also Fort Mill, and Thomas Slater, who's from Sumter School District. So welcome to all of you, and to everybody watching tonight, welcome for this conversation about teacher leadership. So let's just jump right in. First of all, how does it feel to be in this category, the top 5 honor roll teachers for South Carolina? I'm sure it's been a nerve-wracking process, but how do you feel right now sitting here tonight?
Anybody? Okay, I'll start. It's unreal. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. I must tell you, at this stage in my life, I guess I'm the one here that's been teaching the longest out of anybody. I just never thought that I would be at this point, at this stage of my career, but I'm so grateful and thankful that I am to be selected, from among my peers, because we have some awesome teachers in South Carolina. And so, I've seen a lot of awesome teachers. So I feel grateful, and it's a little nerve wracking now, but I'm just so glad the interview is over with, because that was nerve wracking for me, but like I said, it just feels so surreal to me at this moment, but I'm just going to embrace this moment and take it for what it is.
For me, I feel like it's a roller coaster. I feel like we were announced as top 5, and then within a couple of days, we got the information about all the paperwork and everything you have to fill out. So it's been like a roller coaster, but I'm humbled, and it's such an honor because we know there are so many amazing educators in the state of South Carolina.
I echo what Thomas was saying about being grateful, and what Jamie says about being humbled. And something I've had to really learn over the past year throughout this entire process is just accepting the compliments, saying thank you, and being humble in that acceptance, because people are excited for us and proud of us, and that is such an incredible feeling. But it's really hard. It's really hard to accept that when we look at these incredible educators that we work with every single day, and how hard teachers work, not just the 5 of us, but how hard these teachers in South Carolina are working. It just, it's to be named at the top of that is absolutely incredible, but we just can't help but think of our colleagues who are also just incredible and hard workers too.
Dion, Zachary?
I would agree that it is a surreal feeling. I feel like the past 2-3 months has gone by in like a week. So it's been a crazy experience. I think the best part is just hanging out with these 4 others and all the things that we're doing, and just getting to hang out and spend time and learn from the other district teachers of the year. And just every time this group of educators meet, I'm just reminded that there's so much excellence in education in South Carolina. So it's just been a huge blessing to be a part of.
Yeah, so basically having on to retweet everything that I've already heard, right? Extremely grateful, extremely blessed. Pretty much the same sentiments as all of my colleagues here. We're recognizing like all of the excellence that occurs within our schools, within our districts, and all of the hard work and the effort that all the other teachers put in, especially during the past 2 years, right? It's been extremely difficult, but it's an overwhelming feeling, but it's a feeling of gratitude that I have being selected among these other 4 finalists who are absolutely amazing. So I'm just blessed to be in company with you all and with all of the other teachers throughout the state.
All right. Well, Dion, that's perfect jumping off point, because, I was thinking about what is strange time it is to be a teacher. I mean, over the past 2 to 3 years with the pandemic, and now hopefully it's winding down. I don't want to jinx it, but it seems to be kind of starting to wind down a little bit. But we have this whole host of other issues. We have, whether it's violence in our communities or educators that are under fire from different corners of the political spectrum, just a lot of things that are happening right now in the profession. And what we're seeing as a result of the past 2 years and some of the issues that our educators are facing, we're seeing a lot of empty classrooms, and we're seeing major challenges in recruiting and retaining teachers. With that said, now that you are in a clear leadership role, and people are going to be looking up to you for a message, as a teacher leader, what is your message to the state of South Carolina, to other educators, and to folks who might be thinking about leaving the profession, or young people who might be thinking about coming into the profession but are getting a little bit scared because of some of the things that they're hearing? So talk about, I know it's like 18 different points there, but talk about as a teacher leader, sort of what your message is in terms of South Carolina.
I think teachers are definitely overwhelmed. They are stressed right now. But what we have to remember is that our colleagues are there. That's a great support system that we have. And we need to remember that we can make a difference in students' lives every single day. And so when I go to work every single day, no matter what challenges I face, I remember that I can make a difference in someone's life that particular day. And I'll look for those opportunities. And I think as new young students going into education, they have to know that you do not become a teacher for the money. You become a teacher because of the relationships with your students.
This is something we've talked about as a group together and at our different conferences that we've been at as District Teachers of the Year. And something that my group just kept coming back to is just a fun song, we're all in this together. And that's really what I think is, it takes a village. We are not in this alone, and we cannot do this alone. So it really is going to take our communities to have conversations about what can we do to better attract teachers here, conversations with our politicians, what do we need to do in the profession with these laws or policies, and conversations with students that are going into college. What is it that you want to do? And let me show you what difference you can make in education. Let me show you what it's like. So really, it's going to take all of us to keep education strong in South Carolina and to recruit, to retain. It takes parental support. It takes district support. It's not a one size fits all answer. It's hey, we all need to come together. And so that's really what I would be looking for, is how can we come together to solve this problem from lots of angles.
I would definitely agree with that, because I think we need to get back to remembering that teachers are supposed to be like community leaders wherever they're teaching. I think part of that is, like Laura was saying, working with our legislators to improve teaching conditions, because teaching conditions are learning conditions. And that's a great way to help boost the profession of teaching in South Carolina. Another thing is, like Jamie was saying, just remembering what our why is. Like, why are we showing up every day? Why are we teaching every day? I know for me, my why is because there's some students in my classroom who might not have a role model at home that they can get from me or get from the other great educators in my building. So remembering that why as I keep going on every day.
I agree with everything that has been said, especially what Zachary said about your why. I think that we have to radiate that message to all educators, that we have to find our why, our passion, and our purpose in education. And I think once you find that why, I really think that things will start to change. You will see why you're there, why you're needed by these students. Because as I said, our students really, really need us. I've been teaching a long time, 36 years, and I've seen what a teacher can do to influence a child to be all that they can be. My message would be for administrators, for the legislature, to everyone that has this, I guess I would say, I don't want to say a grip, but a hold on education. You've got to make this more attractive to the students coming in. Now, the biggest thing, what I'm seeing is this. is that now my generation, and I'm because we have a certain number of teachers my age still teaching, we're going to stick it out. Because we have invested so many years in this, in education, that we're going to stick it out. But then you got the ones who've taught from 1 year to maybe 15 years. If they're that young, they may say, "Hey, I'm going to do something else. I can't deal with this anymore." And I'm noticing that generation will sometimes do that. So we have to be the ones. We have to be the leaders here to talk to our young people, to talk to the community, to tell them, "Hey, it is worth it." So of course, and as Jamie said, yeah. Know that you're not going to get rich doing this, but there are other many rewards that you get from being a teacher. That years later, when you see students that remember what you did for them, and you all will have these stories. Along with your teachers, I have plenty of these stories. How they say how I have impacted their lives. Those are the rewards that we get. So we have to have these honest conversations with the administrators, with the legislators, with the district office, with board members, with everybody. They have to really do things to make it more attractive, so we can keep our teachers, not just the young ones. We have to keep the older ones in place too, because I think they hold a place. The veterans hold a place also in giving that knowledge to these young teachers. So we have to try to do things to keep them in place also. So that would be my message. Just have these honest conversations with them that, hey, we have got to make this more attractive to everyone.
Yeah, and just going back to something that Laura stated. So you quoted High School Musical, which is like one of my favorite movies ever. But like that collective effort that you were talking about, right? That it takes more than just one person to like truly achieve what it is that we're trying to do in this state. And it's going to take the multitude of the teachers in the buildings, in the districts, our legislators, and everyone else who cares about public education to come together to make those changes that we so desire to see. And then the other piece of that is just like recognizing the humanity, right? I think a lot of times we say this phrase that teachers are superheroes, right? And we, in saying that, we dismiss the humanity that teachers have, right? So there's this unspoken expectation that teachers have to go above and beyond, and that's a part of the job. You do that, but you do that so much you exhaust yourself, right? So we start to talk about teacher burnout and all of that good stuff, and just recognizing the humanity in our teachers, recognizing the humanity in our students, in all of the stakeholders within education, so that we can work together in that collective effort to make the change that we want to see.
Awesome. You know, it's a lot of people don't know really how long you've been in this journey. They just see, you know, your name top 5, and one of you will be named South Carolina Teacher of the Year. But this has been a process of being named your school's Teacher of the Year, then your district Teacher of the Year. And that's a whole process of writing and interviews and observations. And then you get to the representing your district at the state level, and it's more writing and more potential observations. And then these interviews that all 5 of you went through recently. One of you is going to be named the South Carolina Teacher of the Year. And, you know, having worked at SCEA before, trying to work with that state Teacher of the Year to sort of craft a message, they generally will have some type of central theme or message that they're going to try to promote during that 1-year residency at SCEA. If you are named the state Teacher of the Year, what is your area that you would like to emphasize, something that you'd like to spotlight across the state as you travel across the state as Teacher of the Year in a nice new BMW, hopefully. Hopefully they're still doing that. What's the message you're going to be bringing on a consistent basis? What do you want to spotlight?
I'll say it. I'll talk first. Since I'm the oldest here, I guess I'll go ahead and talk first. Okay. My message would be one of, I'll be radiating a message of hope and renewing our passion. And as you stated earlier, Todd, about the pandemic, we're hoping to be over. The pandemic has had a burden on everybody, the students, the teachers, the parents, the administrators, the community at large. You know, because of what happened in the pandemic, a lot of teachers may have found their passions dwindling. But I would encourage all of them to look within themselves to find that passion that they had before the pandemic. And we've all had that time where we had that passion. I think because of, and what you said, Todd, because of all that's going on, a lot of teachers are losing their passions. But I would encourage everybody to look inside themselves to find that passion, to reignite that spirit for our greatest asset. And that greatest asset, that's our children, because our children need us. Because I always wanted to be a teacher because I just felt that they need a positive role model. They need someone to look up to. So that would be a message. Now it would be several other messages, but a main one I would put would be renewing our hope and renewing our passion and reuniting that spirit for the sake of our children.
Todd, I think I would stick with collaboration and how we all kind of sticking with the idea of we're all in this together is something we teach our students. We are very heavily focused on the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And I would love to see that message expand through the adults in this state for our education. We try to teach how to collaborate well, how to listen well, how to communicate. And those are things I would love to see us as teachers, as educators, and with all stakeholders within education, really practicing to make the improvements that we want to see in education, whether that be recruiting and retaining or increasing or whatever goals we're looking at in education this year, is just working together and realizing it's not educators alone, but it is the state of South Carolina that needs to work together and that can work together for great things for our students across the entire state. So collaboration, or thinking that just the image of a complete puzzle, you need every piece of that puzzle to make a beautiful mural, and that everybody in this state is a piece to that puzzle for public education. So working together, collaborating, all pitching in to improve public education and to sustain it in South Carolina.
So for me, I think about my why. And I think about when you guys started talking about your why, I thought about the activity that we did at the last forum meeting. And so I have my piece of paper here. But my why said, cousins murdered, did the school fail them? And so I have a couple of students who a few years back, after they had left my 7th grade classroom, they were a little bit older, but they were murdered in our community. And that just hit my community really hard. And with that, I look back to those previous years with them being 7th graders. And I just feel like we as a school district, we did not focus on social emotional learning. Sarah Gams is doing a great job with social emotional learning right now, but I just feel like we need to build on that. I feel like most teachers aren't prepared. They are not equipped to handle social emotional issues in their classroom. We need more guidance counselors. We need more mental health counselors. So I feel like I would just emphasize the social emotional component of learning and try to make sure that teachers understand the importance of that in their classrooms.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about still like recognizing and honoring one's humanity. And I'm an English teacher, so one of my favorite genres of writing or styles of writing is the narrative, right? So just having the ability to share, my story, but also amplifying the stories of others throughout the state is the message that I will want to carry. So just encouraging others to share their stories with each other, with stakeholders, with the community at large, so that people really understand like what is going on in our public schools and how we all can come together to make public education work for all.
I think my message would be build your vision. Anywhere from the teacher level to even the student level, community level. Where do you want to see education in South Carolina? What is the potential we have for it? And just looking at the obstacles and barriers we have, and just how can we overcome them to build our vision and what we want for our students. My 2 big policy things would be making sure teachers have a voice and having a seat at the table with legislatures and with any policymakers in the state that's making decisions on education, making sure we're working with these leaders to better our classrooms for all of our teachers. And another one would be, like Jamie said, the mental health crisis in our state. We have a massive shortage in mental health counselors right now. And we have to work with district and state leaders to close the the wage gap between a school-based and non-school-based counselor, so we can find these talented mental health counselors, put them in our schools to benefit our students and help solve that crisis.
You all have identified some great things, some really good vision. And I think part of being a leader is being able to celebrate all of the positive things that are going on in education. I think that's one of the things that the State Teacher of the Year does so well, is to say, hey, look at this great stuff that's happening inside our schools. And that is part of the picture. But there's another part of the picture as well. And that's the things that are wrong, the things that are dysfunctional. And what I would ask you to share is, if you could wave a magic wand over one particular problem that you see in public schools here in South Carolina, what would it be and why?
I would love to have the funding available to require all schools to have the metal detectors. I'm from Spartanburg County, but recently in Greenville County, we had the school shooting. And I mean, that just hits really close to home. And I would love to see the funding for every school district, every school building to have metal detectors.
I would wave my magic wand to have equality and equity in our schools, because I see so many, and I've worked in situations like that where I'm in one county, not the county I'm in now, but another county I was in. We had the same number of talented students. We had to scrimp for everything that we got. I mean, we just could not get anything. And then next door, the county right next door to me, they had everything almost with just a little bit more students. So I just think things would be more equal, more fair. I think that will give our students a better chance at success if we just could make things equal. I think that the equity and equality needs to be addressed in the school districts in South Carolina.
I agree with Thomas. I would look at our funding. How can we make it more equitable across the state? How can we not really rely as heavily on business and property taxes? And what can we do more with state funding for these areas? Just like him, I've taught in a classroom that was portable, and it was 78 degrees inside, which meant that the hornet's nest was alive. So we had to like evacuate the building and find somewhere else to teach. And I've also taught at a place where the building itself just turned 10 years old, and it's a beautiful campus, and that's not something we have to worry about. So what can we do at a state level to sort of meet in the middle, especially these areas that need that support and need more infrastructure for the students?
If I had a magic wand that you're going to give me, I would look at that equity piece specifically related to class sizes. That's where my magic wand would go, because we did have the opportunity through the COVID pandemic. My school district, we went to an A B day model. So we had half the amount of students in our classrooms every other day. And the amount of learning that happened, even though students were only at school half of the time, was absolutely incredible. The behavior issues way down, safety, not a concern. It was just, you got to meet each student where they're at on an individual level. When the class size was manageable, when you're talking 12 students to one teacher, that's a dream. And we were really able, we learned a lot of math, but in addition to learning a lot of math, we were able to connect with our students and to really get to know them on such a deeper level. And it helped their, social and emotional learning, all within that idea of a small class size. And of course, I understand that takes funding. It's going to take more recruitment, retention, and all of those things. But you said I had a magic wand. So that's what I would do.
And mine is very similar to what has already been mentioned. The disparity pieces in terms of funding throughout the state is something that is near and dear, considering that like I did grow up in an area that would be considered underfunded. So that was like my main driver for going into education. But more specifically, the piece that I would probably wave my wand across is the silent piece, which is tracking, and how students are put into these specific tracks, right? Based on a single test that they take as early as the 3rd or 4th grade, that leads them to this particular outcome in their life. So just creating like these opportunity gaps because of tracking is something that I would like to eliminate, and something that I would like to shed a lot of light on.
All right. Yeah, I think people would be surprised if they traveled the state, seeing the inequities, seeing the difference in terms of the types of buildings that students are going to. I've been into buildings that look like palaces. They have science desks, lab desks that raise up and down with a remote control, and then others that are just struggling to have enough air conditioning or heat. I mean, the discrepancy between our wealthiest districts and schools and the least wealthy is just, it's vast. And I think people would be shocked if they knew the differences that our students are facing. So thank you for mentioning that. Final question is, I would be remiss if I didn't mention advocacy. In your teacher's leadership role, part of that is going to be to advocate for your profession, to advocate for your colleagues, for your support staff, for your students. Can you talk about the importance, for any educator watching tonight, the importance of all educators becoming an advocate? In my first few years of teaching, that really wasn't on my radar. I was just trying to survive and figure out the profession. And then as I got into years 7, 8, 9, I started to recognize my obligation to advocate for my profession. Can you talk about the importance of that and why it's so important that all educators become advocates?
I can hop in first. So when you say yes to this job, you understand that you are a steward to children, right? And that your commitment is to do right by kids. So what that means is speaking up on behalf of your students. It can be as small as like going to your assistant principal or your principal and advocating for something to take place within like your particular classroom, or it can be as large, right, as like this policy, this systemic level. And it's extremely important to make sure that we are advocating on behalf of our students so that they're getting what they need to be successful post-graduation.
Absolutely. And I think teachers need to remember that we are the experts in our own classroom. So if you are seeing a student struggling or has a need that is not being met, it is up to us to advocate on behalf of that child. And don't second guess yourself. You are the one that knows that that child needs something. And same with the profession. We are the ones in the classroom every day. We're the ones that need to speak up and say, this is what we need to improve education. And it's going to take all of us, a collective voice. But we have to just remind ourselves, wait, we're the expert. So we do need to speak up on behalf of our students, on behalf of our colleagues, on behalf of our profession. So just keep that confidence in you and know that you're doing it for your students, no matter what.
I agree with what Dion and Laura said. Also being teachers being advocates for each other, for the profession. I think every teacher deserves to have a champion. Especially when you have younger teachers coming in, we need more support now than ever before. I think, and as Laura said, we need to all be together in this. We need to advocate for each other. We need to advocate for better conditions. We need to advocate for a lot of things for us. And also, as Dion mentioned, being an advocate for children. Every child deserves a cheerleader. We need to be a cheerleader for our students. We need to be. And it can be just as simple as just listening to them, some problem they may have every day, and it could be just giving them a caring word, because you'll be surprised the number of children that the caring word that you give them is the only caring word they may receive the entire day or the entire week in their home. So we have to be that advocate, that cheerleader for the children. And as teachers, we have to be advocates for each other. We have to be champions for each other, because that's the only way it's going to get done. We got to stick together. We're in this together, and I go back to what Laura said, we're the experts, and we have to make sure that we stick together and let them know, say, hey, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, Thomas. Yes, we do.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, like we wouldn't have to worry about advocacy or what bills are going to the state house or who's our elected officials, because it would just work out. We could just go love on our kids, teach until the bell rings, go home, and then do it the next day. Well, we're not in a perfect world. And definitely part of being a good teacher and a teacher leader is being an advocate for your profession. And the way you do that is you have to pay attention to what's going on in your state house. You can't be engaged a couple of months every 4 years. and you can't just be engaged on the national elections. I mean, Joe Biden doesn't really have as much influence on your classroom as your state and local leaders. And so part of that is you have to first start off, who are your state leaders? Who is your state representative, your state senator? Who's on your school board? And the next part is you have to develop professional relationships with those people so they know, one, who you are, two, why they should listen to you, and why are you the expert in your field and in your classroom. And you have to develop those relationships to carry the message forward so that we're not just going us against them, where we're working together for every student in South Carolina.
So I think advocacy also involves us being listeners and effective communicators. So in this leadership role, I feel like a lot of times we forget that we do need to listen to others' ideas. So we need to be willing to do that, share our ideas, but make sure that we advocate for our students as well as for our.
I think she just lost connection there for a minute. Zachary, Laura, Thomas, Dion, Jamie, thank you so much for your time tonight. Jamie, do you want to finish that last thought? I think you cut out just before you're finished.
Yes, sir. I was saying that we need to listen, but we need to make sure that we do advocate for not only our students, number one, but our coworkers, our colleagues as well. And we need to do that at the school level, as well as our district level, but as well as the state level. Thank you.
And thanks to all five of you, and congratulations again on being named an honor roll teacher. What an incredible, incredible honor that is, that no one can ever take away from you. And we wish you all well as you move forward. I know only one of you will be named the South Carolina Teacher of the Year, but all five of you will be those honor roll teachers for the next year and leading our state and playing an important role as an ambassador of education across the state. And you will continue to lead, I'm sure, throughout your career. And we thank you for that. The word tonight that I heard a lot was together. And at the SCEA, we're all about bringing our voices together, bringing our power together to make a difference. I want to invite all five of you. I don't want to be a salesperson here, but I want to invite all five of you to join us at the SCEA. You can do that at jointhescea.org. I want to invite anybody who's watching who's not currently a member to join us at jointhescea.org. Right now, you can join and pay no dues until September. That is our early enrollment period that we're going through right now. So I'd love to have all of you on board and talk to you about ways we can amplify your voice. I know Dion's really mentioned about amplifying voices, and we'd love to amplify your voice as well, help you share those messages that you shared with us, all of us earlier in more detail and through different platforms. So thanks again for your time tonight and for your leadership and all of your wonderful thoughts tonight. And if there's any way the SCEA can support you as you move forward, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And for everybody watching, I hope you have a wonderful night again. Join the SCEA.org, and we'll see soon which one of you is going to be the State Teacher of the Year. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah.